Cameron Smith's one of the best putters in the world, and in this video we're going to have a look at his putting stroke, what he does so well and what you can learn from it. So let's start off at setup. Now we'll see on the face-on view, just very traditional setup. His feet are just about hip width, ball positions just inside that left heel there, touch of shaft lean, very minimal. The head sits just behind the ball here, just very traditional sort of setup. And if we look from down the line, you'll notice his eyes are pretty much directly over the ball. It's why he uses the putting mirror. His hands hang just inside his shoulders there, and then if we look at the shaft, it's pretty much going up through the forearms. Some players like to see it more in the lifelines, the grip. You'll see Cameron here has that grip more in his fingers, so that shaft is just slightly lower than the forearms, but really nice setup there from Cameron. So let's talk a little bit about what he does through the stroke. The first thing I want to look at is body movement. So bear with me, the camera angle does move a little bit, but I just want to show you here. Look through the hit, look how stable that body is. There's not a huge amount of movement until he's actually hit the ball, and then he starts to look up there. And you can see from face on again, if we look at this head, we look at the hips, look how stable it is. You do see a little bit of head movement, which you're going to see because we are moving around a little bit, but very stable action there. So that's a real key for a lot of great putters, is how stable they are through that body. Let's look at the actual stroke and what Cameron does. I describe Cameron's stroke as a little bit more old school rather than the newer methods where we see chunkier grips and more through the lifelines. I love this method of putting that Cameron has. So let's look a little bit on face on. You'll see, let me just take this blade away. You'll see the first move is almost through that right hand there. Just, can you see that subtle move? If we look at that knuckle on the right hand, how he just moves it back with the right hand there. That's just going to open the blade up ever so slightly and just gets the momentum. If we try and do too much of a shoulder action, we'll see a lot of movement in the body. So just getting a little bit of movement there, and you'll notice at the backstroke, almost that butt end of the grip is pointing at the belly button. And you'll see that with a lot of great putters. Tiger, it's almost right through the backstroke, how that butt of the club just stays. Can you see how it's just staying pointing at the belly button? Love that motion. And then I want to take note of this actually, because a lot of people don't realize this. Look at where the putter blade is here, just outside. Now a lot of people would say same length back, same length through, which would mean that the blade would probably be around this point when he finishes the stroke. Let's see if he does this. So see again, look, there's not a lot of movement there. Hits the ball, and you can see, look, it's not the case that it's the same length back and the same length through. You'll see this nice long backstroke, and then it's almost a shorter hit through the shot. It's not something that a lot of people realize, but a lot of great putters do this, where the backstroke is a lot longer than the through stroke. So it's this little long backstroke and then shorter follow through. That really helps accelerate through that blade and get a really nice roll to it. It's almost a bit more of a poppy stroke. So something you can really take away from and learn from is that we don't need the same stroke back and through. Now if we actually look more at the path of the blade on the right hand side, let's have a little look at this. Now I do apologize, the camera does move a little bit here, but what we'll see is this blade moving pretty much straight back. It does move slightly to the inside. That toe of the club's going to open up there, and you can see there's not a lot of like wobbling of that face or anything there, but you can see how that toe's just opened up ever so slightly, and it's moved ever so slightly inside, and then as we come through, returns it beautifully to square. And then instead of coming back inside now, you'll notice how Cameron keeps the blade almost going down the target line for as long as possible. You can see that in reference to that chalk line on the ground here, is look how he keeps that blade almost down that line here, and then you'll see that that putter does start to release ever so slightly when he does go through the shot. So he's holding it down the line, and then that toe there just comes and starts to release. Now that's a method Tiger talks about. He almost likes to feel like he draws the ball, whereby that putter blade's going to work back slightly inside, and then on the way through it's almost going to feel like you straight down the line and then let that blade release through. It really helps get a nice roll on the ball, and it also just helps really stabilize the body, I think, when you do this motion. Also, if you're somebody who struggles with the left miss, I feel like this almost draw feeling is really nice, and you do get a really nice roll on it. It is more of a handsy action, I'd say, than the more modern day, super stroke sort of grip through the lifelines and rocking at the shoulders. But it's a great way of getting a really true roll on the ball. And what you'll notice with Cameron, he's got really lovely pace. And I think you find that with guys that are a little bit more feel-based with the putting, a little bit more traditional, so they do have probably a little bit better pace control, just because they are using more through the fingers where all that sensory output is, or input. So it just allows you just to be a little bit more touchy-feely with those puts, rather than the super stroke or the hitting it in the lifelines, where you do probably sacrifice a little bit of feel there. But I absolutely love Cameron's stroke. It's a beautiful stroke. It's one of my favourites to watch. Just very, very simple. Hopefully it's helped you understand a little bit why he's so good. It's just very, very simple. The other thing that I'll mention is why Cameron's so good. He's got very good routine of how he practices. You'll notice on this side here how he's got the mirror down, he's got the chalk line, and what he'll do is he'll do 5 or 10 minutes a day just calibrating himself, making sure on this mirror he's actually got some lines here to work on his path. He's obviously got start line, and then he's got for his eye position the mirror. So he's just calibrating himself, and I think he can learn a lot from that. He's the best players in the world. They have this little calibration routine. Keep it very simple. They have these routines whereby they've got this consistent routine where every day he's on that mirror 5 or 10 minutes, and that just enables him to keep consistent so he doesn't wander off from his variables. And then the other key point, like I've said and mentioned, is just look at that follow through. Look how much shorter it is than the backswing. I think a lot of people can learn a lot and will putt better because it almost forces you to accelerate a little bit more, especially when you play on slower greens. I find that it can really, really help. Like maybe like me playing over in England, whereby the greens are a little bit slower, this motion of this shorter follow through can really help, I think, just get the ball to the hole when the greens are a little bit slower. So all in all, I absolutely love this stroke. You'll notice Cameron Smith's putting stats are always fantastic. Great putter, great pace, and I just think it's a really pretty looking stroke. He's got a cool Cameron 009. Just love that stroke. Hope you've liked this analysis. If you have, please feel free to ask me any questions, like and subscribe. Thanks a lot.